Yeah, I don't know what happened. Okay, call the roll.
Commissioner Vanella.
Here.
Commissioner Hightower.
Here.
Commissioner Webb.
Here.
Commissioner Goss.
Here.
Mayor Butler.
Here. The minutes of the regular meeting, May 8th, any addition or correction? If not, the minutes will be approved. Okay, it looks like we have some visitors around here. Gee, are all you young people together, or? Well, now wait a minute. What is a young person now? I mean, okay, you boys, right here.
It's item 1.
Is that item 1?
Yes, it is.
Well, it doesn't matter. Do you want to come up to the microphone and tell us what's going on?
Good evening. My name is Landon Owens. This is Caleb Mayfield. We're part of the Marion Bass Fishing Team. Through this team, we've had the opportunity to compete in the Illinois Bass Nation events. These tournaments are separate from the Illinois High School Association's event. The high school allows us to fish these events, but does not allocate funding for them. We qualified for the IBN State Championship on Clinton Lake by finishing in the top 5 and at a pre-qualifying tournament at the Lake of Egypt. At Clinton Lake, we finished second place, which we qualified us for the Bass Masters High School National Championship next month at Kentucky Lake. At this competition, we will be competing against approximately 175 high school teams from across the country. This is the second year in a row that Marion High School has sent a team to this event. We are here tonight to ask for your financial support as we travel to this event. We have several expenses that include tournament fees, out-of-state fishing license, lodging for 5 nights, gas and food for a total of approximately $1,400. Our hope for tonight is that you will recognize that we are representing the City of Marion in this national event and that you would support us in any way possible. Thank you for this opportunity.
Very good. Is there anybody else going to be participating in the funding?
I do not believe so.
The Bass team has raised, the Bass team does have a small amount of funds left over from fundraising previously that we'll be putting toward the cost, but it's nowhere near enough to cover what.
I see. Yeah, and you're talking about $1,400? Did I understand you to say that?
Yes, sir.
And that takes care of entrance fees and motel, hotel, food, travel?
Out-of-state license. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you say there's 175 teams going to be competing in this?
From across the country. Yes, sir.
From across the country. Were you fellows engaged in this last year?
No, sir. We fished the state tournament but missed the cut to go to the national tournament. But we did send a boat last year from Marion.
Okay, do you qualify for this by catching a certain weight of bass, or how does this work?
There is a 5-fish limit, 12 inches and over. And at the state tournament, we had 5 fish for 12 pounds and 9 ounces. And we got second.
What's the entrance fee?
Entrance fee, 40.
40 per what?
40 per
$40 per day. There's
Wait a minute. $40 per day per person or per team?
per team.
5 days?
No, just the 2 days of actual competition.
$80.
There's 3 days that you're allowed to pre-fish and then 2 days of competition.
$80.
Okay. How long have you guys been fishing?
Long time.
A long time. Okay, do you still use earthworms for bait?
No, we cannot use any live bait to compete.
Well, when I put them on the hook, they're dead.
That's good.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? Comment?
I think it's worth some
You think it's a worthwhile venture?
participation, some amount. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
That's quite an honor to be up there, that group.
I would say so. You see, Last time I went fishing, I had a cane pole and some dead earthworms, and I didn't catch a fish. But I wasn't fishing for bass either. Do you ever do any crappie fishing?
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
The other one does a lot. The boisterous one right there to his right. Yeah, he does a lot of crappie fishing. It's in his genes.
The only time I caught any crappie was when I was out at the Crab Archer Lake near the spillway in the wintertime. The lake was frozen over, and I was standing on the bank, and I happened to look down, and there were a whole bunch of crappie right up against the ice. I guess they were seeking oxygen or something. Anyhow, I broke the ice, and they call it hogging. I broke the ice and hogged the crappie. And all the while, I had my eye on my shoulder looking for the game warden because I knew that the federal guys were going to be there. But for some reason, that was the best crappie fishing I ever had and the best I ever ate. But I'm not recommending you do that. Okay, what's your pleasure?
Well, I mean, it's not an actual agenda item, you know, that.
I know, but we can-
For financially, but I think we can make a consensus
Sure.
pledge, Johnny.
I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts?
Well, I've been accused of not being very frugal. I would fund the guy, but you may want to go half of it or whatever you guys want to do.
Well, okay, that,
I would fund them, but, you know, you may not want to go that much with them. I would.
well, okay. If we take half of that, then one of them can go.
That's fair enough. The other guy can hitchhike.
Wasn't there a boy from Crab Orchard that fished by himself and won the regional or something?
Yes, sir.
See, you only need one of you.
Marion sectional
You have
tournament.
any objection to all of it?
Wasn't.
I make a motion, we fund the expenses for them.
Did you get that?
Well,
We can't.
we can't vote on it.
I know we.
I know, but we
agreed
can
to-
let them know what we're going to do.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's go ahead. We got a motion, let's have a second.
We can't vote, but
Can't vote.
Well, sure we can, to
we gotta
get a
pledge.
sense of where we are.
We got a pledge.
we pledge it.
We pledge.
I make a motion, we
Okay,
pledge
now
it.
we're getting there.
We pledge it.
Eventually, things straighten out,
I make a
okay.
motion to pledge it.
Okay, you second, call the roll.
Commissioner Ranella,
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower, Commissioner Webb,
Yay.
Mr. Goss,
Yay.
and Mayor Butler.
Yay.
Quite an honor for you boys.
Okay, we can't officially act, but you know the sense of the council. And by the way, when is this going to be?
It is June 19th through the 24th.
Oh, well, yeah. We ought to be able to scrape together the money by then, so,
Thank you very much.
okay, thank you, boys, and we wish you the best. Oh, okay, anybody else have something? Yes. Sure will.
Director, lawnmower.
My name is Buford Stout. I'm the guy that was here a few months ago that had the petition of about 50 signatures in Hemlock and Duncan and Beverbeck to remove the speed bumps that were put there. I still think that there's better means of controlling the speed of the traffic on those roads. I came across this from the Institute of Transportation Engineers. Glenn, I'd like for you to have a copy of this too. And I highlighted an item down there about there's a difference between speed bumps and speed humps. And it says here, like, speed bumps produce a substantial driver discomfort, damage to the vehicle suspension, and/or loss of control if encountered at too high a speed. This is one reason speed bumps are not used on public roadways. And so that's what I was trying to tell you guys the last time a little bit. And then at the last discussion, we talked about after school is out, that we would perhaps take the speed bumps out. So I'd like to ask Mr. Goss, are you going to take the speed bumps out for the summer?
We haven't made that decision, no.
Okay, when can that be made, do you think?
We'll talk,
School will be out Friday,
yeah, well, we'll decide when school's out, see how it works.
okay?
Okay, what's the difference in the height between the hump and the lump or
Well,
bump?
the speed hump's about a little over 2 inches, 3 inches, and it's more sloped. And it controls speed from 15 to 25 mile an hour. That's the speed limit that it's trying to control. I would encourage you and Glenn to get into Johnny's car and let him drive over those speed humps at 50 mile an hour.
No, that's too much of a risk with him. Okay, well, what's the difference between the two?
Well, it's, if you look at the drawing on the first page there, and it'll kind of show you the,
I know, but the height difference, well, if the bump is 2.5 to 3 inches, what is the hump?
well, the hump is the same.
But
Well, what is the difference if they're the same?
Well, it's the speed hump has a gradual rise up to the 2.5, 3 inches. And the bump is just almost straight up and down. There's a difference.
Buford, we have bumps out there now, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
I travel it regularly, I see the bumps, I'm on it quite often,
yep.
yeah.
Well, your car will be, if you drive over 5 mile an hour over those things, it will probably eventually damage your car.
You're probably right about that.
Johnny, what's the difference in the cost of bumps versus humps? I mean, is there like a,
I have no idea, we didn't price it, did we?
How many do we have?
Same.
How many do we
There's
have?
2 on each road.
We've got 4.
Yeah.
We got 4, right.
Okay, and they're made of what, asphalt or what?
Yeah, some of them are hard rubber.
Okay,
They're rubber, are they not?
so what you're suggesting, if we sloped it up on both sides of one of these things,
Right.
it would resolve a whole lot of the problem.
It would solve a lot of discomfort, yes. It's really, it's bad.
Okay, all right, I got that. Do you think maybe our people could do a little bit of asphalting on that?
I don't know, it's one you buy pre-made.
Yeah, they're not
I know
permanent.
that, but it's-
No, it wouldn't work to mix it up to, would it, Doug? You couldn't lay that there, it wouldn't last.
I mean, if you remove the speed bumps and you've got the asphalt stuck down the road there.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, we can take those speed bumps up if we need snow plows or anything else. If you put the asphalt down, you got a big problem.
Yeah. They're made to be removed.
Yeah. We can put them down and take them up. But with the asphalt, you got a problem there. You got to get a plow and get them up.
Can you get shorter humps or bumps?
I wouldn't advise it. I'm happy with what we have, but, it's up to,
Well, you're in the majority of one.
no, I mean, I got 2. I got Doug over there with the
Oh,
same
okay.
majority. And we have a lot of folks that are in favor of it. It's not just
Well,
some aren't.
most of the vast majority of the people in the neighborhood, we contacted, we got about 50 signatures on the petition.
I understand that. Some of them weren't in the neighborhood also, but also the people with the children have expressed a lot of appreciation because their kids can play in the yard now, can play out in the streets without the high school traffic. So we have some pros and cons both of them.
Yeah. Well, the safety of kids is right, but
Sure.
and I don't know how many small kids there are on the street. I didn't look at that, but
One's enough.
I've watched the number that go back and forth from school, and, it's in the single digits, low single digits.
One's enough.
Would you be agreeable for if they are removed this summer, for them to be replaced in the fall during?
Yeah, if they would look into the speed humps, I would like to see them look into the speed hump as opposed to the bump.
You see, we're getting, Anthony, as you well know, you're getting the Frisbee golf course out there. This park board is going to put down speed bumps themselves on Fayetteville Drive to slow the traffic down. So it's
Right.
just not the city.
I
The park's
I
also.
thought they already had them out there. Do they not?
They haven't installed them yet, have they, Doug?
Yeah.
But they're going to install speed bumps on that street themselves because of the traffic, and you'll have a lot of people out there with this Frisbee golf. It's not advisable, boys, to let that traffic go fast.
Do-
It's dangerous.
Doug, do they not have them out there at Ray Fossey is it Clark?
Yeah, there's
Or Illinois?
places that are around. I mean, we haven't had any problems with complaints down on, by Jones Park.
Yeah.
Everybody's been in favor of all them, that they're slowing down the traffic. So
Yeah.
It's, they're 2 to 4 inches tall. Yes, it's what they are.
So-
12 inch wide.
Doug, can you purchase a manufactured speed hump, one that's longer, I wonder?
It's 16 inches instead of 12.
So you can, so they make those, huh?
It's 2 inches on each side longer.
And they come in about 6-foot modular. I found a
Yeah.
quote on one for
Yeah,
a
we-
6-foot modular one's about $136, I think, based on this right here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, where does all this bring us? Are you,
I like what we have, Mayor. I don't see this complaint is minor. I understand his complaint, and I appreciate his thoughts, but we've looked at it. We think the safety feature and slowing that traffic down is a must. And you go out and look at the tread marks and the skid marks out there on that street where the people have burnt the rubber getting through there before we put the speed bumps down.
No.
And
They're still there.
Yeah, the speed
Coming around the
bumps.
corners. Yeah, they're still coming around the corner. We've got a
They're still
problem.
coming around with my speed bumps. So, and without the speed bumps, it's even worse than that. So, no, I think that it's a safety feature. You know, it's not necessarily all my call, but if it is my recommendation, I say leave it like it is. But that's.
Is that traffic coming through the park? Is that where that's
They
coming?
Well,
come
from
through the
school.
park and they come down wide open out of the high school. Not the fishermen. Those two boys don't run that fast.
no, they're hauling fish.
But,
Is there any thought to shutting that road off where they can't come through there?
yeah, it's been tried before, nobody liked it.
Proposed that too, and that didn't go.
No, the park board tried that years ago and it didn't work. They opened it back up. But they're going to put the speed bumps down too to keep them from speeding through their park.
But it's not keeping them from speeding. Well, not the park, but
The speed
they're
bumps
still
aren't
speeding on
what we
Hemlock
wanna
and Duncan.
If they don't do it, what will do it?
Duncan and Beverbeck. They're still speeding on Duncan and
Sure they
Beverbeck.
are.
Now, that's a good question. What is the alternative to speed bumps?
Well, we talked briefly about that. I think somehow they need to be caught and punished severely, and I think that would stop it. Mostly it's the kids that coming from high school, and it's not that many. It's probably 10 to 14 cars and trucks. But the speed hump would also, I feel like, based on this, it would slow them down.
Well, if these,
About as effective as the one they've got now, and it would be a lot less discomfort on the drivers.
well, I suggest that Superintendent Phillips and I research a little further and come back with some pricing options, all that. If you all want to change it, I would not change it, but we'll get some information.
Not whether we want to change it or not, we want to look at the alternative.
Right.
If there are viable
We will
alternatives.
research it and bring it back.
Okay, that's what we'll do.
Okay, very good. I've got a starter here if somebody
Well,
wants.
we have all that information. We researched it pretty thoroughly ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And while I'm thinking about it, would there be a relative here of Steve Waterbury
His sister.
by chance? I want to extend the city council's condolence to you and his family. Steve, of course, was a police officer for the city of Marion, and I still marvel at his athletic ability. He was a tremendous athlete, and he got that from his father, Dave Waterbury, who was from Centralia, and he was an all-state high jumper. Oh, number one. Okay, so it was in the genes, and I always appreciated Steve and his ability, and I just wish to extend to you and the family the city council's condolences. Okay, having said that, anyone else have something we need to take up before we get into the routine? Okay. Let's move on to item number 2, the fire department. Now, Jim, what's going on here?
Well, I'd like Gail to come forward, and he's going to present the tabulation of bids, and this is for the renovation of the fire department house. Now, Part B and Part C, we'd probably like to go to executive session, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I think it'd be
Okay.
good for him to go ahead and do Part A now.
I'm trying to turn this thing off. It's smart.
Drop it on the floor.
I tried it, Bob, it didn't work.
Well, do we just want to,
Well, let's just look at them, and then we'll go on down here. Okay.
Thank you. Hey, Anthony. I was looking at this. When I printed these out, this was red, so you can see that there was zero. When I printed it white.
Well, it looks like we had, what, 5 bidders?
That's right.
Gee whiz. The low bid was for $695,000, and the high bid was for $949,000. Okay, Gail, you want to tell us what's going on here?
Okay, thank you, Mayor Butler and Commissioners. My name's Gail White, and we've been working with the fire department and the city for preparing a set of bid documents for an expansion and renovation at the fire station, along with Ben Boyd from Boyd Engineering. And the tabulation is just a summary of the bidding responses that we received on May 11. We had 5 bidders. Reading from left to right only indicates the time of day in which their bid was submitted. So Ross Construction was the earliest bid to be received, then J&L Robinson, then Fager McGee, and so on. So they're not ranked or ordered in any manner other than to reflect the sequence in which they each came to deliver their bids. And the top line that you see that's called base bid is the total amount of the bid for each of the respective bidders. Listed below that, we have 5 unit prices, and that simply means we asked for a price for various remediations that might be needed. We're tearing out some existing concrete paving that's been there for quite a while, and not knowing the history of what might have been constructed there previously, we wanted to have some figures that if we ran into bad soils, for example, if there had been an abandoned sewer line or something that caused soil to deteriorate below that existing driveway, that we would have some numbers set, prepared that we could move forward with excavating any bad soils and replacing them. And what we asked for was a range of replacement with soil, gravel, low-strength concrete, so that we'd have several options. And part of that's driven by what the conditions might be that we might find once that concrete's torn out. It's also a reflection, or gives us some flexibility in terms of weather events that might be moving in. If we, had the site opened up and exposed to the weather, and we had a severe, weather condition with a lot of rain moving in, we might want to think about using the low-strength concrete rather than the soil and trying to get it compacted with rain conditions. So that's what those 5 items are referring to. There's a wide range in those numbers, as you can see. That is not uncommon for what we see coming in bids, and we do have the option to either accept those unit prices as part of the contract or not. And many times what happens is, even if we do include those unit prices in the contract, if we have a situation where we run into bad soils, we may still enter into negotiations with the contractor on a time and material basis if we think that might be more favorable in terms of the final cost. So again, that's something that we might want to take into consideration, given the wide range in some of those prices, depending upon how the award follows through.
so what is Unit 1 and Unit 2? Because that seems, that's where there's the biggest, well, actually, some
First 3,
Unit
yeah.
3. the first three, there's just a large variation in prices.
Right. The unit price 1 is replacing with soil, and then unit price 2 is replacing with aggregate or crushed stone. And then going on up from that, gets into low control or low strength concrete, various admixtures of low strength concrete that are available. As I
Now,
say,
that would
it's-
have to do with the addition, I guess, on the north side of the
Yes,
building.
right.
Unit 4 and 5 is actually the concrete. I mean, that's the finished concrete, the rest of it is just aggregate and dirt, basically.
Well, 4 and 5 are not really what the finished concrete would be. It would just be for the subsurface below the finished concrete floor slab that is separate from this. The concrete floor slab for the new addition is included in the base bid
You
amount.
had dirt and aggregate, and then you have another subfloor.
Right, it just kind of gets more sophisticated the higher
But
the,
there's a big, like
go.
Anthony said, there's a big variance in
There is,
thing,
right.
big time.
it is pretty normal for us to see that wide a spread between just replacing with soil versus replacing with low-strength concrete, just because of the difference in material cost primarily.
Now, this is going to include an expansion of the existing facility.
Right.
How much is it going to increase the capacity by a third, or?
It's at about a fourth to a third more space. If you're familiar with the site, the driveway that is on the north side, there's a retaining or a fence between the adjoining property to the north and the fire station property. So the new addition would extend over to where that white fence is currently, and there would be a new retaining wall, concrete retaining wall, built in lieu of where that fence is, more or less, which would also support the new north wall of the added space to the fire station.
Okay. Well, given the divergent of figures here, I'm going to suggest that the council take a little time and consider what all we have here before awarding. Now, is there any legal obligation for us to accept the low bid?
It's my understanding, and the way that we set the bidding documents up, is that the city has the right to accept or reject bids as you see
All the bids?
to your
Yeah, okay,
your
that's
benefit.
good. Would it be your thinking that we might take a little while to consider what we've got here?
Yeah, namely in the executive session, or?
Yeah, well, we don't need to do it right now. We can take it up subsequently. In the meantime, it'll give us all a little while to look and consider what we've got.
Gail, is there more of a breakdown on these? I mean, you got 749,800, 695,500, 803, 879. Where's the breakdown to where those figures come into? I mean, is there a further breakdown? I mean, you're talking about concrete here and soil.
There is, we required the bidders to submit to us within 24 hours of the bid opening a preliminary bid schedule, which includes a breakdown or a listing of major subcontractors and suppliers. So two of the contractors responded, Everard Strang and Ross Construction, within the 24-hour time period that was required, did submit to us their bid schedules. And there's a little bit of difference, but mostly they each included the same categories of work, which included demolition, masonry, metals, carpentry, roofing, plumbing, glazing, metal studs and drywall, insulation, flooring, paint, concrete, HVAC, plumbing and electric. So the major categories, we do have individual amounts for those.
If we don't act this evening, how much time would we have to act?
We asked them to honor their bids for 45 days from the date of the bid opening, from
Okay,
the time it was
25
submitted.
days. Well, we certainly will have something long before then. Okay, well, what do you think?
Would you not like to have copies of those from Ross and Everard Strang? And they're the only two that submitted within the time frame. Would you like to see that breakdown? I mean, is it possible we could have copies of those?
Yeah, yes. Did you have that already, or?
No, I don't have copies.
Okay. I'll give those to Gail tonight
Yeah, that's good.
for you.
Yeah, okay. Get those to us, and we will, as quickly as possible, come up with the decision.
Okay. And if you have other questions later, don't hesitate to let me know.
Gail, we appreciate it, as
Thank you.
always.
So we would need to go ahead and table B and C as well then?
Yeah.
or-
Just, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Table and all of it.
Yeah, we really have no choice. All right.
Here's number 3. That's separate from the contract.
Okay, C, you mean C?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Gail's saying on that line item C, that would be council approval of additional bids for fire station addition, not included in the contractor's bid, which namely is the cabinet work.
We got those?
And I think Chief Odom could address these if you'd like. These are not included in the contractor's bids. These are separate items that the fire
Do we
department...
have a bid for them?
Yes, they're in your packet. It's item C. And Chief Odom could probably address those. Item 2C. Your copy. Here's.
Third page.
Well, now, wait a minute. Gee whiz, we got an additional
66,000.
estimated 66,000.
What this is there was a few items that we took out of the bid rather than having the contractor bid on them. One of them was the painting the rest of the building. So we got a bid from actually it was the contractor that just got done painting the training tower. He gave us a bid of $4,000. And then they're going to be moving the telephone and the data lines in there. Frontier has agreed to come in and do that rather than paying a contractor to come in, which would be about $1,000. Then running the data lines, we was going to use our own IT department to run the data lines that Frontier will be hooking up. There's about $500 worth of material. And then Walker's is the ones that does all of our radio installation. They'll come in and rewire up the radios, the amps, hook up the speakers, hook up the alert system for the lights that come on when the tones go off. All that was $13,000. And then we also took all the woodwork, cabinetry, the lockers for the office, the dispatch, and the kitchen rooms out of there, and got separate bids on those. So it comes to $66,000 as an addition to the other bid.
Now, everything here is going to be ADA compliant, is it?
To the best of our knowledge.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to get into a Carbondale deal where they built a fire station and then had to come, and then they wouldn't let them move into it because it was not compliant.
Well, that's Carbondale. They never do anything right.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Yeah, well, don't compare us to them.
But no, we went,
I want to be assured that we're not going to get into that.
we went through it as thorough as we can to make sure that everything does meet ADA.
Well, as Jerry said, in preparing the design, we've done our best to make sure that everything does comply. There are certainly some areas within the building that might seem a little overkill, given the nature of the use of the building and the occupancy of it, but it's our understanding that all the areas, the bunk rooms, the offices, the training areas, and showers and everything that's included in it, all those areas do have to comply.
Yeah, and that's where they got into trouble, because a lot of their cabinetry was too high to meet the standard.
Right.
Get into the showers and, the shower knobs too high and stuff, just things that you don't think of. And
Well, firemen are supposed to be agile.
I didn't say that.
I did.
I know. I agree with that. But at the same time, we've been given the standards under the American Disability Act, and we have to comply with that in the building of this, or the renovations of this fire station.
That's right.
Are there any government agencies that would check that for us ahead of time? Probably not. Or we wouldn't want
The
them
state
to.
of Illinois has got her name is actually Michelle Harbin. She's been down here. Gail, did she not check our sidewalk here when a complaint was filed against that?
Well, you'll have the state building, or plumbing inspector in there as well, and if there's any problem, he's going to bring it up during construction. So,
Okay, now, suppose we've got the contract awarded. Do we have an inspector or somebody to make sure that the contractor is doing what he's supposed to do, including compliance with ADA?
Yes, that's part of our responsibility.
That's part of your function.
You have that already in our agreement for services.
Okay, I can sleep better at night knowing that. Thank you.
Just for the record, we had nothing to do with the Carbondale station.
I can appreciate that. Okay, well, where does this leave us? Do we want to award this?
Well, I don't think there's a problem in awarding this one here.
Yeah, I mean,
It's separate
these
from-
things aren't going to come into play until the rest of it's done.
Absolutely.
Recommend that.
Yeah.
So do you want to go ahead and make a motion on
Yeah,
that?
I go ahead and make a motion to approval of the additional bids for the fire station that's not included in the contractor's bid. That'd be my motion.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Manella,
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower.
Yay.
Commissioner Webb,
Yay.
Commissioner Goss,
Yay.
and Mayor Butler.
Yay. Thank you, fellas. Appreciate it. Okay. Tell us about the employee to work as utility inspector for street, water, and sewer. What's this all
A
about?
point of clarification, Mayor, before Gail White and Ben Boyd leave, does the council not want to discuss this in executive session, because otherwise they came tonight and they're available to stay? If you have questions, because otherwise if we plan a special meeting or a future, we'll be asking them to come back.
I see what you're saying. Well, I suppose we can go into executive session because there may be some questions that should not at this time be discussed publicly.
Okay. And can you wait till later?
Yeah.
Yes, Gail said,
Okay, when we
Okay,
get
so if you want to go to the next.
opportunity here, we'll try to do that.
Okay, and in the meantime, we can make copies of the other pieces.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask for the sewer, water, and street. The three commissioners are probably familiar with the utility job description that's in your packet. And the need for this position, I'd like to have street superintendent and Doug Phillips and Brent Kane come up. Is Scott here? I thought I saw Scott back there. And water superintendent Scott Connell. Due to ordinances we've passed as on the excavation and all of our fiber optic companies that have been building, they've been spending a lot of extra time. And the job description doesn't do the justice to tell you why this job is needed. So I think these three that work so hard at it could probably explain to the council
Okay,
why this is needed.
fire away.
I guess in summary of what we developed an ordinance and we passed the ordinance about a year ago for an excavation permit. And it's been a good thing, but it's also shown us that there's a lot of things going on in town. We get anywhere from probably 2 to 6 excavation permits per week that we have to review, go over, make sure they're staying away from our utilities, and then actually try to follow up with that after we issue the permit and follow up with those contractors to make sure they're doing the right thing. And I think That's the part that we're missing out on, and that's the part we need somebody in the field that is following up, has a ledger of who's doing what, when they're doing it, closing out files after they're done, making sure Tammy at the clerk's office knows that the permits are finished, she can refund money to them, things like that. There's a lot of things that we simply just aren't getting done. We're doing the initial permit process, and we're issuing the permits. We're doing a pretty good job of that, I feel. We meet once a week, and Glenn Claret has got an engineer that actually helps facilitate that. He meets with us once a week. We issue the permits and get them moving so they can do their work. I guess where we're lacking on, especially with the fiber companies, is following up on it and making sure, hey, did they go where they're supposed to go? Did they do what they're supposed to do? Did they stay away from the utilities, things like that? That's the bulk of, I think, what the inspector is going to be handling, but there are also a lot of other things with regard to new construction. We've got a ton of new construction going on in Marion, and every one of them are putting in new sanitary sewers, they're doing roads, they're doing water work, and I think sometimes we even get behind on making sure those people, we don't have any eyes out there, hey, they're working on this, they're putting in manholes today, they could get a hold of us, make sure that we know exactly what's going on and when it's going on. I don't know.
Well, not only but you have the utility permits that they're for the fiber companies, but you've still got your excavation permits that come in for everybody that's doing any kind of utility work in town or anything around any of your utilities in town. So you've got to go out there and do a post inspection, make sure that they're starting it right, and somebody's got to go back and check on, depending on the weather, follow up that we're inspecting it, that it's done the way we want before they cover it up.
And I think a lot of that, what you're talking about, it kind of where the permit process started was, we as the sewer department, we're getting a lot of complaints, or we're getting sinkholes in the road, and plumbers have been in there. We knew they'd done a tap because there was a patch in the road. We get down there, and it was possibly done incorrectly. Wasn't put back the way we want it put back.
Right.
So a few years later, things are falling in. I'm just going to throw out $5,000 wouldn't cover what we have to do to get back and fix that problem. So, I mean, there's a substantial amount of work being done that wasn't being inspected. Now it is, but we're having a real hard time following up on it,
What about the water department?
I agree with them. It's problems that, especially in the past, we're dealing with, we're trying to keep from happening again. And now, take for instance, out at the mall, we had a big mess out there a while back. We dug down to extend a 8-inch line for that little strip mall that went out there. We got down almost to the valve and it blew off. It wasn't put in right. It wasn't tied down. So we were out there for another day and a half doing line stops and everything else. Fire department was out there. It was a big fiasco, and it got very expensive just because it wasn't put in properly to begin with.
Well, my question is, will only one inspector do? The way you guys are talking, we need 2 or 3.
It's going to keep you.
We want to start with at least one. And you say that in jest, but it's very possible. We have really not done a very good job of inspecting construction going on in town over the last 20 to 30 years even. We consider that new.
Yeah, I thought, though, that had improved here fairly lately.
It is improving, absolutely.
We're working on it.
It is improving.
Yeah.
But
you simply don't have the manpower or the time to do it right.
And all of our just in-house things, our routine maintenance of things, occupy our guys 8 hours a day. I mean, it's there needs to be somebody specialized and a well-qualified person. You can read the qualifications. We would love to get somebody with some construction experience, maybe some education in construction.
Is there anybody available that's going to have those qualifications?
Well, there's going to be somebody available somewhere, I'm sure. Once we advertise and start taking resumes, we'll determine that then.
I think Brent's got a future in politics. He's never come clear-cut come out and answered a question yet. You have got...
Well, I don't have anybody in mind for the job in particular, but I'd love to see some qualified people apply for it.
Absolutely. And I want to say something, something you alluded to. We've had a change of the guard here in the past few years.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's much better than it was.
And, not taking anything away from anybody in the past, but they're a little bit more diligent about what's going on out there and making sure things are getting done right, and they're working with Glenn and Brian to make sure, and these guys are on top of it too, making sure, you know, we're getting the right things done. It's just that, you know,
We're trying to save the city money in the future, and we're trying to save somebody else
Well,
money in
yeah,
the future.
I mean, you can probably go there on Prairie Street,
We could
in
have a
Vicksburg.
list.
Yeah,
Long
and
list of things.
2 years ago, we probably spent 10 grand in just, in one place there.
It doesn't seem
Yeah.
like that much money.
Brent, you'd mentioned about this person would be responsible to help, I guess, notify when it's time to release money. Now, are we holding bonds, or this is just permit fees? I'm a
Well,
little-
the permit fees, it's a two-part thing. There's a fee, a $150 fee to do the construction permit, which basically just covers the cost of us doing what we do.
Paperwork, yeah.
And then there's a $750 deposit, and that ensures that we do get our eyes on
I
something
agree.
before they backfill it. They have to call us to get that back, and we have to actually see what they've
Okay,
done.
good.
Otherwise, we can make
That's what I wanted to
them
make sure.
re-excavate or forfeit the money.
Yeah,
I'm
in a way, it's a
favor of
bond.
doing this, Mayor.
Yeah, sort of.
I'm in favor of doing this.
Yeah,
They
it's
gotta
an
make a
actual check.
motion
They cash the check.
Okay.
If it's
You
appropriate.
know, I don't really know what the definition of a bond would be.
Well, one question, what do you propose for a salary for this position?
It's, yeah.
We're hoping to work on that
Well, right now, we would like the council to approve the job description.
Oh, I know that, I know what it's on here, we're aware of that, I just want to know.
We would like, we're going to discuss that with the commissioners, so they would have input on that. The commissioners of the three.
Well, you see, I'm reluctant to vote to establish a position and go out looking for somebody to fill the position without knowing what kind of money we're talking about. Now, what's so difficult about that?
Well, this would be above a normal union-paying job, so it would be $20 to $25 an hour, or unless the council wanted to do a salary line to make it because it involves a lot of flex time, independent decisions, and working with three different departments.
Good
So the
way.
person's going to have some good
Oh, yeah.
qualifications.
The person is really going to have to be a diplomat, astute in making judgments, and be able to carry water on both shoulders.
Can I resign and take that job?
You couldn't carry water on both shoulders.
And part of it is, we put together the job description. We did not put together what we had planned on because we haven't had time to talk to Johnny, Angelo, and
Could we approve these things subject to council approval on?
Okay, why don't you make that
I
motion?
make the motion to approve A, B, and C, subject to the council's approval of salary.
okay.
Is that clear enough?
I'll second it.
Got a second? Call the roll.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
that's what you, thank you.
Thank you all.
Good job.
Okay, call the roll. Commissioner Ranella.
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower.
Yay.
Commissioner Webb.
Yay.
Commissioner Goss.
Yay.
Mayor Butler.
And Mayor Butler.
Well, I was overlooked. I don't know, I ought to.
No, I was looking to make sure I had him on things
All
crossed
right.
here.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us about this business with the cemetery department.
That's council approval to purchase an X-Mark zero-turn mower from FB McAfee's. It's a $15,841 list price. We got a dealer discount of $45.62. And then we also have a trade-in of $2,500 for an old worn-out mower. Final cost is $8,779. This is a budgeted items, and I'd ask council approval to
It
purchase
doesn't
it.
matter if it's budgeted, the question is the money there to pay it?
Yes, we save money back for that.
You've saved money?
Yes, I save money for it.
Okay, that's your motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Ranella.
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower.
Yay.
Commissioner Webb.
Yay.
Commissioner Goss.
Yay.
And Mayor Butler.
Hey, and right there brings up a point. We're going to have to admonish our superintendents. Just because something is included in the budget, it still has to be approved by the council before it can go forward. Because if it is budgeted, you hope there will be money, but until we check it out, we're not going to know for sure. So everybody's got to understand, just because it's in the budget doesn't mean it's going to be automatically approved. You cannot operate that way. We must be frugal.
Well, it's certainly an epitome of that.
Okay. All right, having said that, let's move on to the Recreation Center.
Mayor, Council, good evening. We've got actually three different sections here of approval requests. The first is approval for part-time employee hires. Realizing too, we're entering our summer very busy session in a lot of departments. So we have quite a few here, as well as some additional job classifications. So the first group that I've got here is Jordan Rao, that's part-time security officer. We have an increase probably at about 26 to 30 total hours per week during the summer. And then that's basically a seasonal position for this individual at the same hourly rate of $15 an hour for that position. Any questions about that particular?
Okay, well, all right. Do we have a motion to approve that?
I'll make the motion.
You got a motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Vanella?
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Goss?
Yay.
Mayor Butler?
Yay. Okay.
Thank you. Additional ones there is Miranda Lang at part-time membership attendant at $9 an hour, cafe at $9 an hour, and child watch at $8.25 an hour. In addition, there's four there, camp counselor at $8.50 an hour. An additional instructor, we had a resignation of a previous basketball instructor that we had, and that the next one is Ariel Haynes, part-time basketball instructor at $15 an hour, and sports and rec at $8.50 an hour. And the next one is, I'm going to work on, I practiced her name here, I don't want to get it wrong here.
Kledovich.
Kledovich, that's my neighbor.
Kledovich.
Yes.
Did I do okay?
Yes, close enough.
I asked her to tell me that several times, so Madison Kledovich. Okay. Part-time camp counselor at $8.50 an hour. Another Madison McGuire, part-time camp counselor at $8.50 an hour.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
Be my motion to approve the following at the above-mentioned salaries.
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Vanella?
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Goss?
Yay.
Mayor Butler?
Yay. Okay, what's this about job classification additions?
Job classification additions for current part-time employees. Leading into that, what I'd like to do is acknowledge, recognize a current employee, lead lifeguard, who's been with us from the very beginning. In that respect, three of these job classifications are going to replace, this individual for one of them at least. And in that respect, I want to read a little statement here of thank you. I'm pleased to announce and reluctant to also accept the resignation of the Hub's first lead lifeguard and a most significant and consistent leader in aquatics. So I want to at this time publicly recognize the distinguished service of this lead lifeguard whom we hired pre-opening at the Hub, and that is Jonathan Allen. He was a lead lifeguard since January of 2015. He's led the lifeguard team with opening, closing, and weekend shifts and everything in between. During various times of transition, busy seasons, even through the summers, he's increased his hours even to at one point a temporary full-time acting pool manager. Jonathan's been a crucial and steady team member on deck and behind the scenes for the development of the lifeguard team. He's also done pool operation at the highest and most complex level. So I wanted to publicly say we owe Jonathan an ocean of gratitude for his service, which has been unwavering his entire time with the Hub. Where he's going is pretty exciting, for him and for us to acknowledge that. He's going to start his career as a civilian engineer for the Department of Defense at the Naval Surface Warfare Center in Crane, Indiana. So
That is absolutely remarkable. He is certainly to be commended and to be congratulated, and I'm sure that the council is willing to adopt a motion commending him for his service, exemplary service to the citizens of the city as well as to the Hub Recreation Center.
Yes.
And we do give him thanks. So I have a motion to that effect.
I'll make it.
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Vanella.
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower.
Yay.
Commissioner Webb.
Yay.
Commissioner Goss.
Yay.
Mayor Butler.
Yay.
thank you. These job classification additions, the first three, we did internal, attempted to recruit externally, and we did internal 6, myself and Jared King, our aquatics coordinator, we did internal interviews. So we have, for council recommendation, 3 internal part-time candidates for part-time lead lifeguard classification. We've got Jonathan leaving, we've got an additional lead lifeguard reducing hours and will eventually leave us for a career.
You say additions, are we creating new positions?
Same position that we've had, but there's hiring internal that we've brought up and mentored internal hires, but it's the same position we've had, the lead lifeguard position.
Yeah.
So,
Very good.
so the first one is Jacob Rice for part-time lead lifeguard classification at $12 an hour. The second one is Shoshana Yoakum, current part-time swim instructor as well as lifeguard for lead lifeguard at $12 an hour. Jordan Blankenship, current part-time lifeguard for part-time lead lifeguard classification at $12 an hour. So those are the 3 there for that, that classification. Additional, Dakota Quitermos.
Oh, Cotermus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I worked on that one too. Didn't hit it. Part-time camp counselor. She's currently in membership attendant, so she's come back for the summer, and she'll have those 2 positions. Bethany Pickens, who for the classification, currently only Child Watch, will be part-time camp counselor at $8.50 an hour as well. Kylie Arnold, we have a spelling correction on Kylie's name. It's Kylee Arnold, part-time classification additions, including Child Watch at $8.25 an hour, camp counselor $8.50 an hour, wellness attendant at $9 an hour. So for those 3. And then my final one, current swim instructor and lifeguard is Josh Siddick for soccer instructor at $15 an hour. We had a resignation for that position recently, so that's a replacement there.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
Well, it'd be my motion to I don't even know how to reclassify and pay the above-mentioned salaries to our current employees at the Hub.
I'll second. Go ahead.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Vanella.
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower.
Yay.
Commissioner Webb.
Yay.
Commissioner Goss.
Yay.
And Mayor Butler.
Yay.
How many lifeguards total do you have?
Right now, active, what are we looking at, 30? Or
Active, we're about 24.
24 right now?
Total staff, about 50.
53 lifeguards?
In aquatics, no. In aquatics, swim instructors, lifeguards, lead lifeguards.
Aquatic personnel.
We should be at
24.
42 lifeguards total,
And how many's on attendance at these all day?
about 24.
Is that what, 6 at a time?
No.
Roughly, depends on the time frame.
But you always have at least 4, 5, 6 people on duty at all times.
Minimum 2.
Minimum?
Yeah, for lifeguards, minimum of 2, depending on time of the day.
Okay.
There are times where there are 4 lifeguards, 5, depending on what activities.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Council.
Call the roll on that.
call the roll?
I don't think.
No, we did
Yes,
not.
we did.
Okay, got a motion.
I'll second.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
made the
we had
motion.
we had the motion.
I made the motion.
and the second, we called it roll.
Call roll.
I thought, okay. Okay.
We've already called it.
We've already called.
You've already called, okay.
Why are we going through? I don't know. Okay.
Distracted.
What is this, a Chinese fire drill?
Thank you. Appreciate it,
Okay.
Council.
What's about the library?
This is just a council acceptance of a resignation. They are posting this position to be replaced. A young lady's resigning to take care of her an elderly relative. So it'd just be an acceptance of a resignation.
Do we know how long Tiffany was with the library?
About a year,
How many?
about 1 year.
1 year. Okay. Well,
I make a motion to accept the resignation.
I'll second.
call roll.
Commissioner Vanella?
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower?
Yay.
Mr. Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Goss?
Yay.
Mayor Butler?
Yay.
She gets looked over every time.
Okay, where are you, Brian?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So each year I get the Illinois Public Risk Fund Safety Grant. I meet with chiefs, try to figure out what we could do to help keep our employees safe. One thing that we'd like to buy this year, it's not called a drone, it's called an unmanned aerial system, a UAS. I contacted FLIR because for us to be actual 100% operational, we'd have to use it at night, so we would need a thermal imaging camera, which FLIR makes. They actually partnered with Darley, and they came up with this kit that you see here. Some of the applications we can use it would be for the police, searching for missing people, also help with canine searches. A lot of people think when you put a dog out, that dog will run forever. It's not the case. The dog actually has to stop quite often, take breaks. Accident reconstruction. This is something new that they're starting to use for aerial photography. It opens up intersections quicker, so you're not hours into a scene. And then ERT call-outs, so they can get a visual of the house. Fire department, Chief Odom, I spoke with him. They would use it for fire grounds for better efficiency on attacks, as well as roof conditions on a structure fire, as well as hazmat situations, actually going to the scene, flying the UAS so they can get a product. Instead of sending 3 men in, they could actually fly that and see what kind of chemical they're dealing with. EMA could use it for damage control. As we all saw the floods a few weeks back, we could not send our public works guys down the road to make sure we didn't have any washouts. We could fly that over. As well as, public works, they could use it for water tower inspections. And then last year, we actually used a drone on Carbon Street to help with the layout after the resurfacing for the paint, how to lay it back exactly like it was before we
How
did that.
about an oil spill?
Oil spill, we actually borrowed another department agency's last Friday? Thursday. We couldn't really get into the creek from 37 on through Fosse because how thick the terrain was. They flew that. Within a matter of moments, we actually could get a better grasp of what we were dealing with. So there's many opportunities that we could use this.
And this has capabilities to take pictures and send them back to a laptop?
Send it back, and it also has an SD card that it'll record to.
Yes.
But basically, this version that we're getting, they'll have 2 controllers. One will be controlling the aircraft, and then one will be controlling the photographs. We've spoke with the airport. They've been very helpful. Detective Chris Ramage has been in contact with the tower chief. He's gave us everything we have to do. There'll be some training that our staff will have to take to be certified, and then we'll have to register, and then we have some other paperwork that we'll have to do with the FAA.
How many trained operators you look for us to have?
That is going to be between Chief Tondini and Chief Odom. We don't want too many people, but at least a handful. You don't want me to fly it because I'll crash.
Ought to be able to train the present personnel.
Yes. And the certificate that they had to have through the FAA, I know SIU Aviation, they do that training as well. So I'd like a
But what would be the
approval.
drawback of too many personnel being trained?
Basically, you want to make sure you got the right qualified people to fly. Like I said earlier, you don't want me to fly it because I'll crash it into the first tree.
Do they
Yeah.
have to take a physical exam?
No. There is a test. I don't know how many pages. I know the study guide's like 85 pages, so.
Boy.
But, you want to make sure you get the right amount of people, have it centrally located, either at, probably dispatch would probably be the best location for it, or at the fire department. So,
I mean, in case the trained personnel are off duty for whatever reason, I just seem
and
to
that's
be.
why we would have different police, fire, so it would not just be one department.
Well, I mean, I can see initially training a certain number of people, but as time goes on, I agree with Angelo.
And
You need
that's-
to expand it because people come and go
Sure.
and on vacations or sick and,
Right now, this is just getting us started, so.
yeah.
Getting, it's a $150 certificate fee that we'll have to pay, plus the hours that will, the
What's
employees.
this gadget going to cost?
The actual quote that we got from Darley, with a additional camera that we could zoom, so we're 14, what is that? I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on.
14817.
14817. Money is in the,
1,000.
money is in the account. I know you
Money's in there.
Got the money?
got the money.
Okay, having said that, what's the motion?
I like to make the motion since he has the money.
I'll second. Well, that'd be a first for you, Johnny.
Try to change.
First time he ever spent money he actually had. Call the roll.
Who made the second?
I don't know.
You can give it to Jim.
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Vanilla.
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower.
Yay.
Commissioner Webb.
Yay.
Commissioner Goss.
Yay.
And Mayor Butler.
Yay. Okay. Let's talk about the emergency environmental cleanup for the oil spill the other day. What do we got here?
Okay, as the council is aware, this past week, we had an oil spill in the West End Creek that passes through and by our sewer department. We had a number of, we had quick action by our fire department, sewer department, and many other departments that chimed in to help to, this is basically a disaster for us. Fire department contained the chemical in, and kept it from flowing farther downstream, which flows into the Crab Orchard Wildlife Refuge, which would be disastrous for many things. Fortunately, Brent Kane left, but fortunately, Brent Kane had contacted the EPA, our regional office. That gentleman came out, had met with Brian and Brent, and given them a number of cleanup companies, because once you have it contained, you have to clean the oil. We had to act very quickly. Fortunately, Commissioner Hightower was on the scene with us at the time and helped listen to the phone calls we made to Summit Environmental Services, which was on our list that the EPA had given us. They couldn't give us one name, but they gave us, what, Brent, five different companies. We needed response. Summit Environmental was one that they had worked, the EPA had worked with. They could be here, they're from Evansville, Indiana. One gentleman was from Paducah. They could be here in 1 hour and 45 minutes from the time we called, which to an emergency situation was appropriate. So the contract was approved as I kind of phone called and talked to the different commissioners, not as illegal, but as an emergency, we had to get it done. And so tonight I'd like to ask the council to formally approve the contract, and Attorney Green has already reviewed it.
Okay, now, as Summit Environmental, have they done all the work they're going to do?
I'll defer that to Brian.
There's still some, we're working with the Illinois EPA, she was from Collinsville. She's going to come back down in the middle of this week to see if any soil sampling will need to be done. But I do want to say, there is some rumors that we caused this. The city of Marion was not the source of this.
Oh, well, there's always somebody who's wanting to pile on Marion, and our shoulders are broad, and we accept it and move on.
Well, one of the things that I heard was that we had an illegal dump of sewage into Crab Orchard Creek, and, that was by far the farthest thing, from the truth, and,
The same people are bugging us that are bugging President Trump. I mean, what more do you expect? Okay.
I appreciate the Commissioner Hightower, he actually rode with me.
Okay.
Everybody was there.
Yeah, my question is, how much do we owe at this point?
Their worst-case scenario was $6,000 a day.
Yeah, but how many
We don't have
days
a
have we
bill yet.
used?
We have 2.5 days plus equipment plus transportation. So we would estimate anywhere around, didn't we think about maybe 20?
I think we should, once we see if they're coming back for soil samples, I should give you an exact amount.
EPA has to clear us first to say they don't have to take soil samples or do any other remediation.
Yeah, but at this point, how much are we going to owe?
As I said, we haven't got a bill for all the equipment, so we were anticipating 20. I cannot guarantee that because,
that's just from Summit.
yeah, that's not, we have overtime hours of our own people.
We had 124 hours of overtime of our people.
That's our people, but I'm talking about what we're going to owe a third party. That's what I want to know.
Is it the city's responsibility to pay this bill?
We would pay it, and then we have an ordinance on spill. Anthony, you could speak to that.
Yeah, it has to be understood that this was an emergency situation. Once the oil gets in the creek, it's going to move. And every minute that you do not do something to stop it, it's going to get that much closer to Crab Orchard Lake. That is why it was necessary to hire somebody to jump in and stop it, regardless of cost. You worry about the cost subsequently because the immediate danger far outweighs whatever the cost might be. So this has to be understood.
We should be getting their invoice this week, and part of it is if they have to come back. So
Yeah.
we don't have a final
Okay.
bill, we don't even have a...
Then we'll worry about who is going to be responsible for really paying for the bill, but we want to be sure the job is done.
Yeah, and.
Well, we all
I
agree
think-
that you gotta take care of these people, but
Yeah, yeah.
eventually, is it on our back to pay all of it, or are we gonna recover some of it?
Basically, we were told, when we were in that discussion, our property, our problem. That's how it was relayed to us.
Well, I don't buy that either, but...
This all,
Find the source and everything, the
Yeah.
investigation is complete.
Well, suppose we tell them we don't own the creek. Then what are they going to say?
And we don't own it.
Well, we don't own it probably, but then...
We do own it? Sorry.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we do.
No.
It's part of the big ditch.
yeah, I was going to say, we spent
Glenn
federal
made the
monies on
plan.
that ditch that we didn't own then.
Does he know?
Yeah.
Anyhow, you need to approve a
Yeah.
motion to pay this.
Yes.
One thing that needs to be clear here, this all falls under the SARA Title III Act, spiller pays. So once all the EPA gets done with their investigation and they come up with their findings, then that's when we start putting together our figures and, for
it's gonna
cost
be-
of remediation, and then we submit that to whomever, and it's up to them at that point in time to,
Well, that's
recoup our
something-
costs.
That's something we work out,
Yes,
but
later.
it isn't anything that's pressing at this moment.
I will say the EPA was very appreciative for the city of Marion's response. The
Yeah.
fire department did an outstanding job. Assistant Chief Stotler, Chief Owen was actually out of town. Assistant Chief Stotler did an amazing job with his people.
Tim Stotler heads up the the hazardous material response team for Mavis 45 here, and he is very well qualified and probably has as much knowledge of anybody in hazardous materials in Southern Illinois. So yeah, he took the bull by the horns, and we had things in place very, very quickly.
I think,
He never got the route for himself. That's all right.
yeah, I think everybody involved should be commended, because I believe it was handled professionally.
Well, here again, it's just, when we had the situation a few weeks ago, we had the flood, every department come together for the best of the city, and we got a good result, and that our workforce needs to be commended for that. It'll be my motion to accept the contract, Summit Environmental Services.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Vanella?
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Goss?
Yay.
Mayor Butler?
Okay. Okay, we have an empty seat on the zoning board, or a position that needs to be filled due to the retirement of Jim Feemster. Kathy Spicer is the office manager for code enforcement. She is familiar with much of what goes on with the zoning, so I would recommend that she be appointed to fill the position left by the retirement of Jim Feemster.
Do we plan to fill Jim's spot at any point in time?
That's something we got to discuss.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Got a motion? Need a second?
I'll second.
Second, call roll.
Commissioner Vanella?
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Goss?
Yay.
Mayor Butler?
Later.
Okay. Now, anybody else have something we need to take up? Glenn, you guys got?
I just need to pay some bills with money that we have.
Well, I'm delaying that as much as I can. Okay.
I make a motion to pay the monthly bills as funds become available.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Vanella?
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Goss?
Yay.
And Mayor Butler?
I make a motion to pay the consent agenda.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Vanella?
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Goss?
Yay.
And Mayor Butler?
Yay. Anything else?
That is it.
Okay, Angelo?
Nope.
Jim?
Nothing.
John?
Nothing.
Holy mackerel, Sapphire. Now, should we go into executive session at this time for any matter?
To discuss contracts.
Discuss contract?
Yeah.
Okay.
That shall be my motion.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Vanella?
Yay.
Commissioner Hightower?
Yay.
Commissioner Webb?
Yay.
Commissioner Goss?
Yay.
And Mayor Butler?
Yay.
Before we leave, there is something you need to, what'd you do with it?
With what?
It's from Trifocially.
Everything's set for Monday.
Oh, right there. Yeah.
Don't forget your May 30th, Angelo. Or Anthony.
Anthony?
Don't
Yes.
forget your May 30th,
Yes.
too, to talk about.
Okay, well, we do have, this is interesting. Thank you for your continued support. Young hearts with goals and purpose. Okay. This is our opportunity to let you know personally just how much we appreciate. You have made a difference in the lives of the young hearts, children in our communities. This year, we celebrated our 18th annual banquet. Your contributions helped to celebrate the positive achievements of over 500 children throughout the Southern Illinois regions. We look forward to having your support and working with you at next year's annual youth banquet. Until then, may your business, families, and lives meet with success and prosper at whatsoever you do. Sincerely, Larry Lee Sr. and Travasia Lee, event coordinators. and they had the Refuge Temple that was sponsoring the dinner that they had out at the pavilion, and there were about 600 people there, and more than 400 of them were children. And they had various groups that performed dance routines and things of that nature. It was very, very impressive. They had an elder of a church out of St. Louis come down and give the main address, and it was very interesting because someplace in the middle of his talk, he mentioned that he had gotten married April the 7th, I think it was. And to see him and his wife, you would have expected that they'd been married for 10 years. But it was very interesting, and it was a very nice program, and I think well received, and the council, of course, sponsored part of the cost of the ceremony celebration. But I think it was something well worth the effort. Okay, having said that,
Let me mention that, this coming Monday is our second Memorial Day, or Marion Day at the park, and got some activities planned. Got baseball, going to have barbecue chicken there again. Need to buy your tickets. It's a half a chicken, barbecue chicken with 2 sides and a drink for $10. A lot of interest was talked about bringing that back, but ticket sales have been down, so we need to know very quickly about that. But going to be free swimming for anybody, free golf, car show, baseball, got a doubleheader planned that day, Junior Legion, and various other vendors out there. So come out to the park and have a good time and see people you haven't seen for a while, and have a good time.
sounds good. Okay, need a motion to go to executive session?
We've already did it.
We did it?
Did we?
Yes, we
Vote?
did.
We have voted.
Already voted on it? Okay.
We're ready to go.
If we have done so, then let's repair to the table for executive